Hi friend, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is Jade and we are going to be doing a video today all centered around child abuse. Now April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, and Chianna from A Better Way Ministries Incorporated reached out and asked if I would like to do a video about this, and so I agreed, and this is that video. So on screen now you're seeing the printables that I created, as well as the printable that she created with the ribbons and the little butterfly and the flower starburst. The other 2 pages is what I created, and that's free for download on my website. And I'm showing you the supplies that I will be using. This will be a super simple page so that we're not taking away from the message here today. So what I'm going to be doing is rubbing some gelato. This is a blueberry, and I'm just rubbing it. I think that's what it's called, or elderberry, sorry. And I'm just rubbing it in the corners, and I'm going to use a baby wipe, and I'm going to blend that out. Now this printable comes with 2 skin tone, so you have a darker skin and a Caucasian skin tone. And I'm just using a little baby wipe, and I'm going to move that color on, because with gelatos, if you don't use some kind of water or the wipe, which contains some amount of water, then when you close your page, the pigment will transfer, and we don't want that. And so I'm just blending it out to have a nice, soft, airy look onto my page. For a very long time, I was not a fan of the gelatos, but it's growing on me now. So let's talk a little bit about child abuse. And this is prevalent. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. Children are abused. Why? Because they're weaker, right? They're smaller, and a lot of persons, especially here in Jamaica, have the notion that children must be seen, not heard. And sometimes you'll hear them say that. And so as a child, if you're abused and you speak up about that abuse, sometimes persons don't listen, or they shrug you off, or they just tell you to go and sit down, as if to say that you don't have feelings, which is the craziest thing to me. So I was abused when I was a child, not physically, but sexually. And so that you carry the wounds with you. Even though you grow up, you still carry the wounds. I know persons who were physically abused growing up, and they still have that trauma. And so sometimes we might think that what we're doing won't cause harm to our kids, but it will. Why do you think we have so much of these things going on in society, where there's a lot of theft, battery, a lot of abuse physically? Because remember the saying from the Bible, children live what they learn. Is that from the Bible? I don't think so. Oh my gosh. But children live what they learn, right? Children live what they learn. Or as we always say, monkey see, monkey do, right? So if children grow up being abused, when they grow up, they are going to abuse their children, right? When a child grows up seeing abuse, they grow up and become abusers. Here in Jamaica, which I can speak for because that's where I live, you have this saying that if he doesn't hit me, he doesn't love me, which is the craziest thing I've ever heard. And this saying is more prevalent in the inner city areas, where a lot of that sort of thing happens. And this is because they're usually beaten by the men, or some women are the ones who actually abuse men. And they also take out that anger onto kids as well. Especially as a child, if you see your mom getting hurt, you're going to want to jump in, and so also the child gets dragged into that. And a lot of times we're not realizing what we're doing, even seeing, because sometimes we assume that abuse is physical. Abuse can also be verbal, emotional, right? You can withhold food from a child. That's also abuse. You can withhold the necessary the necessity, I cannot even say this word right now. The necessity. I'm going to leave this in, right? The necessity, the very basic things that they need. I don't know why that word is so getting me tongue-tied, but we can withhold those from children. That is also abuse. Abuse doesn't have to be physically hitting, and a lot of times when person hear this, they think that, oh, it's just hitting the child. No, you can withhold food. You can withhold the right to have a shower, something as basic as a shower, and that is also abuse. Clothes, the things they need for school, that's also abuse. You can, if you live in a cold environment, cut them off from the heat. They have to bathe with cold water. That is also abuse. And so we have to open our eyes and open our understanding to what abuse is and how abuse can affect a child in the long run. They can affect the way they learn. It can also affect the way they process. It can also affect the way that they interact with others, interact with other children, interact with adults as well. They become timid. They become extremely shy, because no child is born with shyness. You're not born shy. No, it's because something that happened to you as a child and you become withdrawn. Some kids, they used to talk and then they go mute. They stop talking. Selective, right? They're not dumb. They can't speak, but they choose not to speak because of a traumatic experience. Maybe they witness violence. Also, that is also a form of child abuse. We are not even thinking of these things, looking on the radar, right? These things are also abuse. If a child is seeing this, pornography, not allowing your child to have basic right with the basic things that they need. All right, so let me tell you what I'm doing here. So I already fussy cut my printables out. I'm using some of the journaling cards from my journaling card release for the month of April. And then I'm using the speech bubbles that come with the printable. I have these fun florals along with the kit, and so I'm just making some little clusters. I'm kind of laying them out to see how I like it before I stick it down. I'm also going to cut out some of the elements from that printable that Chianna created, and I'm going to use some of those elements with the ribbon and that little paint to stroke with the word hope onto it. It's very important for us as adults to speak up for children because they don't have what it takes to defend themselves. They're smaller, they're weaker. I'm not saying they're weak, but they can't physically fight back. They can't protect themselves as parents, as adults. It is our responsibility to protect our children. It is our responsibility to defend our children if we see them being hurt, because a lot of times they're not being abused by a physical parent. They can be abused at school, and different environment, even somewhere as safe as the park that you would think is safe. They can be abused there. I don't know why I'm tripping over my words today. And so it's very important for us to speak up, raise awareness. We don't want to raise awareness just in April. This is an ongoing thing. This is a year-long thing. There's that saying that it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to protect a child. If you know that a child is being abused, speak up. And some of the times, I'm sorry for the background noise, some of the times these children, when they are rescued from an abusive home or environment and they're placed into foster care, they're even being abused in foster care. I recently heard this, I don't remember where I heard it from, but someone was speaking out about doctors who are hurting children as small babies, And these are the persons that you think want to protect and help your kids. So you have to be very vigilant. I am a very vigilant parent. I always ask my son, hey, what happened? Every day after school, because you don't know. They can be abused at school as well, and so I want to know. So I always ask him, not being invasive, but on the car ride, I always say, hey, what happened at school today? Tell me about your day, right? I always ask the teachers, but I also want to ask him as well, right? What happened at school today? And I am very specific. I don't say, did someone do something to you? No, because I don't want to instill that fear in him. I want him to be comfortable to tell me. And so I have created a policy for me and my child where it doesn't matter what he does. Even if he's wrong, he will not be reprimanded for it. So what I do is I take away his tablet. I take away his toys, right? As punishment. But what I do to him is I will say, whatever you do, even if you did something wrong, mommy won't get mad. Because I want to cultivate a safe space for him to know that it's okay to tell mom. Even if you did something wrong, it's okay to tell mom. I'm not saying I won't be angry, but you will not be reprimanded. So even if he did something wrong, if he's honest and he doesn't lie, then he won't be punished. I'll just say, you're not supposed to do that. Let's not do that again. Okay, mommy's very angry. Mommy didn't like that you did that, but thank you for telling me, right? So he sees it's a safe space. He's comfortable and willing to tell mommy what happened. Okay, so I remember this one time, and my son is on the autistic spectrum, and so there was a period in time where he wasn't able to speak. Okay, and I remember they had doctors come to the school, and they did not notify the parents. It was my son. One day, this was before I even thought to ask him what happened, and that was the time when I started asking, what happened at school today? What did you do? Right? Because I thought that was very alarming, that they had doctors coming to the school, parents weren't notified, they're doing examination on children. Why are they doing examination on my child? And I am a parent and I don't know, and I never signed a consent form. That was very alarming to me, because what if my child was abused in any way? They're going to say, no, it must have happened at home because, they're in a controlled environment at school when they had outsiders coming to school and parents weren't aware. And he told me, oh, mommy, you know what happened today? The doctor hit me with the thing, the thing to check the reflex and whatnot. I don't care how harmless it is. I was very upset that I was not notified. What if something had happened, right? And so we have to be very vigilant, especially with kids, because children, sometimes they withhold information from me as an adult, and they get really silent. It's very important for us to know our kids. Know your child, know the signs. There are always signs. Even if it's not your child, if you see the signs in other kids, speak up for them. Advocate for them. Use your voice for good. The Bible tells us that we are to suffer the little children to come unto him, right? For such is the kingdom of God. The Bible also tells us that if we offend them and turn them away, it would be better for us to tie a millstone around our necks and to be tossed into the sea. Why is this important? Because a child can have a desire to serve God. A child can have a desire. When they're young, their imagination is so active, and they want to do everything, and it's beautiful. And then we as adults, we come in and we ridicule them and we beat them down and we stomp on them and we tear them down. You know what that creates? That's how they become shy, right? That's how they become timid, unsure of themselves. They don't have confidence. And we are living in the environment now where there is the whole self-harming, the cutting of themselves to relieve pain. I remember when in high school, a few girls would cut themselves, and they would just wear the wrist things to hide their wrists. One of them almost died. And that's when all of this information came out into the open, and that's when I, found out about it because of what they were enduring at home. So we might think that our kids are fine because they look fine, but they're harming themselves. Substance abuse, because that's how they can cope with being abused at home or at school. They can also be abused by other kids as well. There are signs. Look for the signs in your children. Look for the signs in the other kids that are around you and speak up for them. Here I'm using, this is an Artistro acrylic paint pen, and you press it and the ink comes up. I think I kind of left the cap off this one, and so it's giving a little challenge for the ink to flow down. So every now and again you see me pumping so that the ink will flow out, and I'm just creating some little art marks, which I realized that I did wrong. I should have wrote on the page first and then I do my art marks, which is what I always did. I always do that. I don't know what happened today. I decided, hey, why not just do it first? Wrong idea. So learn from my mistake. And you can see how quickly this page came together. And it's very simple. And so we can journal in a notebook. For some persons, they don't like journaling in their Bible, and it's fine. So that's why I thought to journal in a notebook today, just so you can see that it's absolutely possible and the possibilities are endless. And I really like the way this page turned out with all the ribbons and the paint strokes and the floral elements that are popping. And I specifically use like the megaphone, because we're supposed to be speaking up, and the microphone because we need to amplify our voice to raise awareness for kids, because they're helpless and they can't help themselves. Well, they can, but in terms of defending themselves, we are the adults and we need to stand up for our children. There are other ways in which we can speak up, right? We can try to intervene. We can speak to the parent if you're not the parent. If you are the parent, there is other ways to cope. Maybe you need to seek help. Maybe you need therapy, because hurt people, and so maybe you're hurting. So go ahead, seek help. If you know kids who are suffering from child abuse, advocate for them. Get them therapy if it is even possible to correct the damage that has been done. If you enjoyed this video, which is a different kind of video that I normally do, but if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and comment down below what you think of the topic of child abuse, because we need to get involved into this discussion. Comment down below what you think of child abuse, and remember, head over to abetterwayministry.inc. that is www.abwminc.com. I'll also put that up on the screen. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video tomorrow for Tiny Journal Tuesdays.